Yeah, hi Chita, good morning. Let's start. And also, yeah, it's getting recorded. And see, here we are in console, and last class we talked about cloud formation and also elastic beanstalk. So we talked about all these things. And today we will talk about ECS, Elastic Container Service. All these are container services. Elastic Container Registry. Here you can create your own Elastic container registry, which is nothing but image. So let's go back. Services, containers, Elastic container registry, Elastic container service, Kubernetes service, Elastic Kubernetes service, and the Red Hat OpenShift service. So we have ECS, which uses Docker, and also we have Kubernetes, one more container service. So if you want to use Kubernetes instead of Docker, you can go for EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service. Let us understand what is this Elastic Container Service, ECS. So you can see over here clusters, task definitions, account settings, repositories, etc. And you can read over here, Amazon ECS makes it easy to deploy, manage, scale Docker containers, running application services, batch processes, so on. And it supports features. It's like you can integrate elastic load balancers, security groups, EBS volumes, and IAM roles. So, what is this ECS and why we need this ECS? So, let us understand this. So, before understanding ECS, let us talk about Docker because Elastic Container Service uses Docker. Just give me a minute. Okay. So, Docker is a container service. What Docker does is it packages. You can package. Docker is a lightweight software. Let me run this presentation. So, what is Docker, right? Docker is a container. Let us call this as Docker. So, where this Docker is going to reside inside your, it needs guest operating system inside your laptop. Okay, this is your laptop, and Docker, you install this Docker container on top of your guest operating system. Now, what this Docker contains? This Docker contains your application and its dependencies. So, what are those dependencies? So, frameworks, libraries, runtime, what it contains, code required, libraries required, and any other software, framework, etc., which are required by the applications. All the things will be provided under Docker. So, what is the difference? This is your say EC2 instance. EC2 instance or your computer or virtual machines, let's say, or virtual machine or your local computer if you are running any server application locally. Say, for example, I am setting up a server and I am running this server on EC2 machine, which is virtual machine, we know. So it has a guest operating system. Obviously, when you say a virtual machine or a computer or anything, it needs an operating system, Linux, Windows, Mac, all these things, right? So now previously we have talked about running a web application like this. Okay, we already talked about this. And here is going to be our web application, web app or any other application, any other service. So this is what we have talked about. On top of there will be load balancers, auto scaling groups. If you want to, so there is so much of traffic visiting your web app, then you can add more instances. All these things we have already talked about. Now we are talking about ECS, Elastic Container Service. So here also, this is web app. This is my web app application. So what is difference between this deployment and this deployment is, see, I am not directly running my web app on my guest operating system. It can be Linux or Windows, but I am not running my web app. My web app has dependency, that is operating system. So this web app uses some software, it has some server-side scripts written in Python, say for example, and it using HTTPD service, say for example. So HTTPD service has to be always running. HTML pages are there, PHP, something like that. All these things are dependencies, right, for the web app. And all the dependencies are installed on operating system. So my operating system uses those dependencies. What are those dependencies? Code, libraries, framework. So where actually they are code, libraries, framework, etc., and other dependencies which are required by the web app. So they are all installed on the operating system, and web app which is running on the EC2 instance will use that. Will use those things, right, which are there in the operating system. So now what we are doing, we are not going with this deployment. We are going with this deployment, the same web application I am launching. Instead of EC2, I am using ECS. So what this ECS is, Elastic Container Service, and the containers means here, containers are some lightweight software packages. So I am packaging this web application along with its dependencies. So this is a package, and Docker is one such container service which allows us to pack. Like now we are making it like pieces. So I have this container here, this container here, and this container here. And these three containers are in the same EC2 instance. Each container has a web application running and underlying dependencies. So packed together. So what is the advantage and why we are going with this ECS deployment? So one thing is resource utilization. Maybe when traffic is not so high, in ideal scenarios, your EC2 instance can be underutilized. Why? Because the web app is there in the EC2 instance. So we are assigning the entire EC2 instance resources to that web app. So whereas coming to this deployment, we are going with ECS. So now guest operating system doesn't have any of these things. It doesn't have code, library, software, framework, anything. This operating system has ECS, Docker containers. So Docker containers has all these things. So now advantages, the first thing is resource utilization. Now each EC2 is packed with Docker containers. And your web application is running in the Docker container. So no underutilization of resources since it's packed with multiple. So instead of, so if you go with this deployment, say you need 2 to 3 servers. If you go with this deployment, the EC2 instance is packed with ECS. So let's say one EC2 instance is holding 2 Docker containers. So here just one EC2 instance is enough with those Docker containers. Here, whereas you need 2 servers at least. So in ideal scenarios also we need to maintain at least 2 servers, say for example. So here we need 2 servers, 2 EC2 instances. When you go with this deployment, so these two are logically separated. These two are isolated with each other, but they are running on the same EC2 instance. So you just need one EC2 instance. One thing is resource utilization, and second thing is deployment or time take to set up the resource. So we talked about auto scaling groups already. When traffic is high, automatically what happens? We have auto scaling groups. They will scale up. When traffic becomes normal, they will scale down the EC2 instances. But the time taken to create one EC2 instance and deploy all the dependencies required for the web app, like code, libraries, framework, everything, the operating system has to be ready with all these things, and then it will be available for us. It takes some time. Whereas here you go, these Docker containers are lightweight softwares we already discussed, and the deployment time is so less compared with deploying the entire EC2 instance. So now if you want to apply auto scaling to this web app, now you will not add one more instance, you will add one more Docker. And how AWS manages these ECS is, you no need to bother about setting up a EC2 instance, install Docker on it, and you need not bother how to scale up them, scale down them, etc. So they are managing a service called as ECS, Elastic Container Service. So you go create Elastic Container Service. What happens? They'll maintain cluster of EC2 instances. And on this cluster of EC2 instances, this Docker will be running. So your web application is going to reside in the Docker. You need not bother about how many instances are there, what operating system are they using. There is no dependency on operating system at all. So if you want Python, Python is there inside the Docker. If you want HTTPD, Nginx server or Tomcat, Apache, PHP, whatever it is, whatever required for your web app, that is going to reside on your ECS. No dependency on operating system. But ECS has dependency. ECS is on the guest operating system. So now if you want to scale up, you scale up your containers. And say your containers are loaded within the EC2 instance. And AWS bothers how many EC2 instances has to be allotted. If you are applying auto scaling group, scaling up your ECS in the backend, AWS add more instances to the cluster. So the second advantage is deployment time. Compared with if you apply the same auto scaling here, where your web app has a dependency on operating system, it's running on EC2 instance, you have to create the entire EC2 instance. If you go for this deployment is so easy. The deployment time is, you can reduce a lot. And that also increase the performance of web application. And the third advantage of having ECS is runtime issues. Runtime issues means, see, I have a direct connect from AWS to my organization. Suppose I am a application developer. I have developed the application. So the script, everything is running on my local laptop. Fine. In my local environment, in the desktop I'm using, the code is the script which I have developed is running. But I'm not sure. Obviously, when you change the environment from one computer to another computer, we face these issues. Runtime errors. So the same program will be running in one laptop. If you try to execute the code in another laptop, we'll get these runtime errors. So now we are not executing. Suppose this is the scenario. I have developed the application in my local laptop and we have a direct connect to AWS. Now this is going to migrate it to the AWS EC2 instances. Now I am going to migrate this application there. But we don't know whether it works there or not. Why? Because environment differences. We might get runtime issues. Then we have to spend some time to resolve it. So rather than that, what I can do on my local laptop, I'll not install these runtimes and develop my web app. Instead, what I'll do, I'll install Docker software on my laptop and all the dependencies required for my web application. Or it can be the HTTPD service or Apache or Python or Perl, whatever it is, JavaScript. So everything I'll keep in the container. So I'll develop my web application in the container. Now I'll migrate the container. So what we know is after developing the web app, so we pack it right in a zip format or something like that, or you'll put it in some folder and migrate it to AWS EC2. So there we might find issues. So to avoid that, what I'll do, I'll have a Docker container, not ECS, sorry. I'll have Docker container on my laptop, develop the application. Now I'll migrate the container. So it's a package. It's like it's a kind of a box where all the dependencies and my application is there. Now I kept this box on my laptop. Now I'm migrating the box to AWS. So no runtime issues if I do like this. So that is the advantage of using containers. So they are lightweight, deployment time, they are fast, deployment time is less. You can migrate they are easily movable. All these are advantages of having the containers. Rather than using the instance directly, you can use ECS. So rather, what is the advantages with ECS? It's Elastic Container Service. It's AWS managed service. So here I am saying your containers is going to reside inside the EC2 instance, but you need not bother about setting up these EC2 instances, installing Docker containers on them, maintaining these, upgrading this. So at the end of the day, Docker is also a software. There will be upgradations, etc. So you need not bother about all these things. AWS manages it. So you tell the number, I need these many Dockers, one Docker, one ECS or two ECS, these many containers I want. Accordingly, in the back end, AWS will create cluster of EC2 instances. And what happens here is, even though they are using the same EC2 instance, they will not share same ENI. That's how they are isolated. So we know what ENI is, Elastic Network Interface. Using Elastic Network Interface, we can connect to network. So, and I am saying that here ECS, these containers are going to reside in EC2 instance. And here what you may expect is, so your EC2 instance has ENI. That automatically, when you create an EC2 instance, a network interface will be attached to it. So now with ECS deployment, what is happening? This is our ECS. Web app, ECS deployment. So even though they are in the EC2 instance, not EC2 instance, cluster of EC2 instances. And this cluster is managed by AWS, as we already discussed, cluster of EC2 instances. Right. So you need not bother like these ECS will not share same ENI. So this one container is equivalent to this web app running in virtual machine. And here we are also talked about resource utilization, right? And we can optimize the resource usage also when we use ECS. So even though they suppose two Docker containers, if they are residing on the same EC2 instances, so we don't know. They say that we are assigning cluster of EC2 instances. Maybe two containers might be there in one EC2 instance, or maybe in different EC2 instances. We don't know. AWS manages it. And what is happening here is, suppose these three containers are running on the same EC2, or they don't share same ENI. ENIs will be separate. This will have a different one. This will have a different one. This will have a different one. The public IP. So this container will have one public IP. This container will have one public IP. This container will have some public IP. When I scale up the containers, the new containers will be launched, and they will be having the separate ENIs and public IPs. Right? So that is ECS. And why ECS? We have discussed about that. So this setup, now we are making it compact. We are packing it in some lightweight software called Docker. And these are the Docker containers. So let us go and launch one ECS. And here ECS contains a few things. One is task definition. Let us click on get started. So this is how it happens, 4 steps. First step is creating container and task. Then service cluster. So this is how it will be there. So we already talked about cluster. Let us open mind map. So these are the 4 steps, right? Container definition, task definition, service cluster. Container definition, task definition, and then service cluster. So if we need these things for our ECS. Let's go. So container definition. So is an image for your container. Just give me a minute, yes. Now by looking at this, you can expect what the container definition is. The configuration of your container. So if you compare, you can relate this with your EC2 instance too. So we have talked about instance type. So how many CPUs we want, how much of memory we want, right? Based on that, we can choose instance type. So here container definition gives that configuration and image. So we know what image is. So if you see image of container is not Linux or Windows, right? Container images or the framework which you need. If you're using Apache or Tomcat, so then the image which your container should you should launch your container using a image which contains Tomcat environment. Same thing with so this is HTTPD. So if you are using HTTPD service, then you should launch a container using HTTPD image. And you can configure your own container definitions. You can also edit the container definition. Edit. Container name sample app. Image is HTTPD 2.4. So the image used to start your container. So here we are going with the image which is given in the this is sample container definition. We are going with the HTTPD 2.4 service as my image, and then private repository authentication. If you want to put any authentication here to connect with the repository, you can mention here. Here there is something soft limits 512. So soft memory limits for the container, the memory limits. So ECS recommends 300 to 500 MB. You can also set your own limits, but let's leave it as is. And the port mappings 80. And you can see advanced container configuration, health checks. all these things, container timeouts, network settings. So if you want to bring in DNS servers, all these things. So let's say cancel. So we are not making any changes. So we are going with this default sample app, and it's using image which has HTTPD service running. We already know what HTTPD service. So it's the same HTTPD service kind of server application. If you want to load graphics, so you can use NGINX. And we have also Tomcat. Tomcat is also a web server. Let us go and use this sample app. And before creating sample app, we will understand ECR, Elastic Container Registry. Let me go back. ECR. So now we know what container definition. Container definition contains image and then configuration, the CPU and the RAM. So this is what container definition means. So however, if you want to use custom images, your own images, you might be using different framework. You might be using something else, right? For your web application, maybe PHP, Perl scripts, or instead of you may be using JavaScript, all these things. Then you can customize your own image. So, and you can register your image. So then you can use that image in the container definition. So where you can do that is in ECR, Elastic Container Registry, fully managed Docker container registry. Okay, this one. So here you can create a EKS, that is Elastic Kubernetes service. This is Elastic Container Service. You can create a repository here, and you can use this with your container definition. So get started. So visibility, private, public, repository name. Just create repository and add all your things here, and you can use this repository in ECS. So let us go to ECS and get started one more time. We'll go with sample app. This is our container definition. Next, we have task definition, right? The second step is task definition. So let us click on so this is first run task. Attributes, so edit the task definition. By default, it's a Fargate. Let's learn before going there. See, this container deployment are of two types again in AWS. Let us go here. So this is AWS Fargate. Where AWS manages EC2 instances. This is AWS Fargate. Fargate is the AWS managed service. Suppose you don't want you want to maintain the underlying EC2 instances on your own, then you go with the ECS without Fargate. Fargate means how many EC2 instances are required. Those cluster of EC2 instances are managed by AWS. It's AWS managed service. The ECS is called as Fargate simply. So no, I don't want AWS support. I can manage my own ECS. I'll when there is any upscale, I'll add more EC2 instances to the cluster. I'll maintain all these things. Then that is that ECS you are opting is not managed by AWS. That is just ECS. So that is Fargate, and we have one more normal ECS deployment and Fargate deployment. Okay, now let's go. Now understand what task definition details mean. Task definition is nothing but a template with network, what compatibilities. So here we are mentioning we are going for Fargate, task size, all these things. So let us look here what a task definition will provide. Creating a task definition. So not here, learn more. Okay, so let's say edit. Task definitions. So task definition contains the Docker image to use with each container in your task. So even though if you attach, we have container, and then we have yes. So this task definition attaches those containers with the infrastructure. So it contains a Docker image that has to be used, CPU and memory, launch type. So we have chosen launch type as Fargate, networking, logging configuration. When the run has to finish and fail, when you need your container. So for your EC2 instances, we have stop, start, terminate, all these things, right? So when to start, when to stop, uh, all these things. If you want to command, if you want to write anything into the ECS, everything, if you want to assign any IAM role, all these things are defined by task definitions. So if you go and see here in the task definition, okay, save. So it has all these things. Let us edit this task definition. First run task definition, network mode, task size, CPU. Right now, all these task definition has. Let's say next. Now define the service. We have chosen the container definition, task definition, service. So what is this service? Let us edit and see these things. Do you want your security group, your elastic load balancing? These things you can decide here in the service. So let us call it a sample app service. Yeah, we are allowing internet port is 80. By default, load balancing is not there. Let us also add load balancer for the service. So container to load balance, it's port number 80 HTTP. So let us keep it as is. Advanced options are also there. So these are related to load balancer. So what service means? You task definition gives details like attaches, gives run and stop details, and again image details, CPU RAM details, So all these things, CPU and memory. So all these things are there in the task definition. Service. So services that you want to use with your ECS. So the service I want Elastic Load Balancer to use with ECS. So we have only two things here: VPC, Elastic Load Balancer. Since we are going with Fargate, we don't have an option of choosing EC2, right? EC2 related things. So if you want to add any rule to security group, so you can do that. Security group is a service. So we are here in the service segment. So you can add a security group rules, etc. And there is one more service, Elastic Load Balancer. Here we are using application load balancer. So you can opt for application load balancer, etc. So what simply service means? Attaching the other AWS services with ECS. That's it. Like security group ALB, we are attaching with them with ECS. And then cluster. Need not mention about the cluster. We already talked about this. Cluster is nothing but EC2 instances. Since we have opted for Fargate, AWS manages them. EC2 instance cluster. So that container agents that are installed in the EC2 instances and the group of EC2 instances, etc. So those things we call as cluster. So now let's go save. We are opting for Elastic Load Balancer. Service also done. We have configured our service. Next, configure your cluster. Oh, okay, next. W4 FZ. Right, next. Yeah, now, so to see key differences between Fargate and standard ECS cluster, see Amazon ECS documentation. So in this second step, while uh, creating our task definition, we have chosen Fargate. So not much to do here. So if you are not opting for the Fargate, then more options will appear here related to EC2 instances. So here we are going with sample one, sample that is there, which has HTTPD service image. And if you don't want to opt for Fargate, then ECS clusters will ask to assign EC2 instances, your EC2 deployment. Everything has to be done under this section. So see Amazon ECS documentation, which is the difference between Fargate and clusters. So you can go and get it here anyway in your console itself. So go through that once. So not much details here, just a name. It's asking the name. Let us call it as our demo web cluster, web app cluster. So VPC ID automatically assigned, or subnet will be automatically assigned. EC2 cluster will be automatically assigned. So not much to do here. Cluster is also done. Review and create, as we know. So those things: task definition, service, cluster. Next, create. takes some time. It takes five around at least 5 to 10 minutes. Why? Because now this Fargate has to create EC2 group, and then this EC2 cluster should have that ECS containers running on them, and then create. See, you can see what steps are happening here. ECS resource creation is pending. Cluster is complete. Cluster demo web app cluster has uh, is complete. This uh, segment. Task definition is complete. Now service is pending. Service, we have chosen Elastic Load Balancer as a service. So it is pending. So here you can see log group. So it creates log group. I think it's in CloudWatch log group. So this is our cloud formation stack. We already discussed what cloud formation. So since we are using this sample app, it has a cloud formation stack. So it creates VPC and with two subnets, and it also creates a security group and then adds load balancer, the final one. So all these steps are done. It has created VPC, launched two subnets in it, created security group. Now load balancer part is pending. And here service is of course the load balancer. If load balancer is done, automatically this and this also will appear in green. So load balancer thing is pending. Same thing with EKS. ECS use Docker containers. EKS uses Kubernetes containers. View service. We have all these things now under tasks. Still, it is last status is pending. It has to become running. And here we can see public IP. So now it seems like running. This is container runtime ID and it's running. Let's go back and check. So it's running. Now go here. So this is my ECS public IP. Right. So it has created one this thing ECS sample HTML page, and the HTTP service is running, and this contains some sample HTML page. So if you go here, task, so these are logs. And we have not observed the task. I think while creating the task, it will give the bash commands. So in the bash commands, it has created the HTML page. Go to clusters. Update cluster. If you want to update, cancel. Schedule tasks and go to tasks once again. So each container will have separate ENI, Elastic Network Interface. Yeah, here you can see. So while creating this app, sample app, so it has all these commands. If you see, we are creating HTML with title Amazon ECS sample app, and the body, the color which is there in the HTML page, and then you can see the header here, Amazon ECS sample app. Okay, so we are giving this bash script in our sample app. Let's go. So here it is. And we have enabled load balancer also. We have attached load balancer to this ECS. So let us go to EC2. Load balancers. And here it is created by our ECS, Elastic Container Service. Copy it. Right. So now this is the ECS which is having your web app. Either you can attach it with ELB, or you can use its IP address and use it in your other Route 53 or CloudFront. Same like wherever you use your EC2 servers, instead of that you can use ECS, Elastic Container Service. And go here and go to ECS. We will delete this. Any doubts, guys, related to this? Clear? ECS. This is our cluster. Go there. Delete cluster. Delete. Meanwhile, we will go and talk about AWS workspaces. Workspaces. See this workspaces. Have we talked about these workspaces, guys? I think no, we have not talked about this, right? We talked about cloud formation. No, we haven't discussed this. Okay. So workspaces provides users with a desktop experience in the cloud. It's desktop as a service. While talking about cloud formation, we named it as cloud code as a service, right? Using your code, you can automatically form cloud services. So this is desktop as a service. Uh, See, if you are client, so you are working in an organization, of course they are having AWS. They have the on-prem network, and also they are maintaining some infrastructure with AWS also. And uh, we got a project, say for example, and now client is so particular that the amount of work which this project managers or developers within the project team have to connect to a remote desktop, and they should log into a remote desktop and work there. So your client itself manage this work environment, or you have to create this work environment and also allow your client to it. So in such scenarios, we will use this workspaces. The name itself, you can work here, workspace. It creates workspace here. So let's say get started now. And it first thing it says is set up directory. So here is workspace. Say launch workspace. It will take me to select directory. So first I need to create a directory. What is directory? Directory means we call active directory. Active directory is nothing but a gateway kind of a thing which allows you to let in. So this Active Directory is a Microsoft software, and it's AWS managed Microsoft AD Active Directory. It will allows you to connect. Active Directory maintains services which you need. Suppose you want a desktop, we are creating a workspace now that is going to reside in your Active Directory. If you want other services like databases, other things, any other applications which are required for your enterprise. So you keep those all those applications services in the Active Directory. It's simply a directory for your organization. The services which are used by your organizations will be there, and you can access those services there from that Active Directory. So let us create one. Do you want AWS managed Microsoft AD or AD connector, Active Directory connector? It's a proxy redirecting directory requests to Microsoft Active Directory. So let us go with this AWS managed Active Directory. And these workspaces are a bit expensive. Of course, they comes with 30 days of free trial period. After 30 days of free trial, you might get charged for having the workspace Active Directory also. So it's better to delete after creating a workspace. Why? Because it's after 30 days you will be charged, and they are a bit expensive too. So next, if it requirement is there as such, there should be isolated environment where people has to log in and work. Then only organizations use this desktop as a service called workspace. So let us go with standard edition, obviously. For small and medium sized enterprises, it gives 1 GB storage for directory objects. Say I told the directory contains all the services applications required for the organization. So in standard, it's only 1 GB storage for directory objects and includes two domain controllers, something like this. And organization name. So let me call 360 digit MG. Directory DNS name. Say corp dot 360 digitmg.com. Let us use this. Directory NetBIOS name, all these things are optional. We will give a password. Lowercase, uppercase, numeric, and special character. Sorry. So VPC, we're going with default VPC. Subnets, no preference. You can leave it as is. Subnets, no preference. However, if you want, you can choose the subnet. Next. We have a 30-day limited trail. Otherwise, this is the cost, 0.14 USD per hour. Let's go and create directory. Status requested, registered no. Why registered no? We take some time creating. So after our directory creation is done, we can set up a workspace. Our workspace is not yet ready, so where employees can log in. So client is maintaining the environment. Client is maintaining this workspace, and they are particular that we want to connect to their workspace and work. So in such scenarios, yeah, we need Active Directory. Client has to create Active Directory and then launch workspace with necessary things in there, necessary services or applications required. So then you'll be having those details to log into this workspace. So using the credentials, you log into workspace and work here. So bundles, you can add the software bundles, images in the workspaces. And again, IP access control. Since this is a workspace, you can give access to only certain IPs. So all these things related to workspace. Let us go and check directory. Still it is creating. So meanwhile, until it gets done, we will talk about these notification services. Notification services, we already talked about SNS. We know SNS, simple notification service. SNS is used, uh, two topics are there. SNS is used to push notifications. You can push emails, SMSs, SMS notifications, and notifications to HTTP endpoints, notifications to any HTTP endpoints, means web apps. If you have a web app, you will get that HTTP endpoint and you push notification to web app. So SNS can do all these things. We already talked about SNS, generated email alerts, all these things. Now we have SQS also. SQS, simple queue service. So queue means we know. Here you can push messages into the queue. See, here we have FIFO, and that means first uh, message which comes inside will go out first. That is FIFO. We have standard, which means at least once. There is no like the compulsory format that has to go out first in FIFO. That is not like here. It's a standard one. It ensures that message will be delivered at least once. So let us call it as my demo queue. And then visibility timeout, for how much time message is visible. Retention period, for how many days it is going to reside in the queue. And then delivery delay. So to understand this, let us create a queue. See, queue, you can push notifications in the queue, and applications will poll and get that message from the queue. Say, I am creating a web app. Let us take an example, consider an use case. Say, traffic challenge. So, traffic challenge has to be sent to the uh, users, the drivers who has exceeded speed limit or violated the traffic rules, say for example. So here this smart application, already we are getting this right when we jump signals or exceed when no helmet is there. These days we are getting online challenge. Let's say some smart application is monitoring, it's clicking pictures, everything of the number plates, like people who are exceeding the speed limits or jumping signals, violating some other traffic rules. So for those people, obviously they will be registering their details to those details. It can be their email IDs or any web application. If transportation is maintaining any web app, so that web app or their phone numbers, it can be anything. Application basically. Say for example, transportation system is maintaining some application. So this application has to get the messages. The messages of what? There is a processing which checks all these number plates, and it has to send a challan. So how we are sending the challan messages? Using queue. We are posting the challan messages in the queue, and the application has to read from the queue. So let us send a message. Let us say message body. This is traffic challan. So delivery delay. You can mention the delivery delay here. So we are not giving any delivery delay. So message attributes. So if you remember in the previous steps, if you want to add more attributes to the message, you can. But anyway, it's optional. We'll skip it. If you remember in the while creating the queue, it has asked us to choose the retention period. All these things, right? Retention period means suppose application for some reason has not read this, it didn't got this message. For how many days it is going to reside in the queue, or if it is lost somewhere due to bad network or any other thing. So then application has to get it. That means we have to retain it. So maximum is 4 days. 4 days is like a retention period, and there is maximum limit. You can do that. And display time. For how much time that message is displayed, visibility time. Sorry, it's visible so that application can read it. That is visibility time. You can set the time in some seconds and minutes. So this is our message, and we are going to send the message. And where we are sending into the queue. So now I have posted the message into the queue. Applications has to read from the queue. So this is a test portal to test the queue. So here I can poll for message and get it. So here I am doing it manually. I know that one message is available in queue. So polling duration is 30 seconds. Maximum message count 10. At a time you can poll for 10 messages. Poll means checking and getting the messages. So here I am doing this poll manually, but in real scenarios, you'll poll, applications will poll for the messages, poll for messages. So now I got the message. So not yet, still receiving. So why? Because polling time, at that time we can poll 10 messages. So that's why if we already got this, only one message is there. At a time you can get 10 messages. So this is traffic challenge. This is what we have sent, right? And now how applications can use. So here I am saying poll for message, but how applications can use. So edit poll settings, 30 seconds. You can increase this time for polling duration, etc. Let us go to queue. Yeah, ARN using this URL. So using this URL, applications can poll. And also access policies, you can set access policies if you want to allow only certain URLs, then you can use this. So by default, only root account can access this queue. So you can set some particular endpoints which can access this queue. Monitoring the queue, tagging, we know tags, purge. Sorry, Shu, you want to purge the following queue completely. So purge means purge. So when you purge a queue, the message deletion process takes up to 60 seconds. Right? If you want to empty the queue, so then purge it. So within the 60 seconds, message inside it will get deleted. So after that, you can delete the queue. So emptying process is nothing but purge. That's about the queue, and we have one more service called as SES, Simple Email Service. So we have Microsoft Outlook, all these things. We can manage, our organization manages emails, right? Email service where we will be having organizational mail IDs, etc. Same thing here, SES. And also SES, when it is helpful is if you want to send messages, push email notifications in bulk, SES is useful. You can bring your own SMTP settings, that is own email servers also here. Let us go to email addresses, verify email address. Okay, and also I'm adding one more email address here. So you can register mail IDs and push notifications here using this SES. Push emails, sorry, not notifications, emails. You can bring in your own SMTP settings, create my SMTP credentials, etc. Let's go back. You can set your SMTP server simply. So SMTP server, emailing server for your organization. So let me confirm this mail ID. Uh, this is something that takes. Okay, we have this one, and then I have added one more mail ID. So now I'll go to SES, refresh. Say I'll use this. I have two mail IDs. I'll verify or send a test email. You can send in formatted or raw form from. I'll send to srija@360digitalng.com. Send test email. Let us go to SES. SES test mail. Yeah, now we got this. Okay, that is about SES. We have SNS, SES, SQS to push notifications like that. And we have SWF, simple workflow, to coordinate application components. See, you can coordinate the applications. So launch a sample walkthrough. So we will talk about this later. We will check our workspace. Get started. Directory, still it's getting created. Let's set up one more directory, but it takes time. Usually it takes some 15 to 20 minutes of time to set up a directory. So let us continue workspace in tomorrow's class. Okay. And meanwhile, we will also discuss this trusted advisor and end the session. Trusted advisor. Okay. So let trusted advisor, just we will walk through it. It would take around 5 minutes. The trusted advisor. It's good to know why, because in examination, yeah, you may ask questions like it's related. You'll get scenario based questions. Scenario based questions. They will give you a scenario and ask you to choose the best suited answer. So trusted advisor is AWS managed service which you can where you can optimize cost, performance, security. And the scenarios which appear in examinations will be testing your knowledge on how to go for cost optimization, redundant applications, or building a resilient and high available applications. And this trusted advisor is AWS managed service, and I recommend to go and check this trusted advisor. So trusted advisor will check, uh, make a check and check your application. Is it cost optimized, or is it okay with the redundancy or resilient and the performance, fault tolerance? So all these things, this trusted advisor will check. Download all checks. So you can see action recommended in information. This is dashboard. Let us go to cost optimization. So we have to give our services here. Suppose I am using EC2 instance, load balancer. I am also using a database, Route 53. So give all your services here. What are all the services you are using for your system? Give those things here. And now you can perform cost optimization check, performance check, same thing. So what are all the services you are using? You can use here. So upgrade your AWS support plan. This is not for free tier. For developer AWS account, our account plan is basic. We are in free trial. So developers account, these accounts will get this trusted advisor. And you can perform checks, download all checks. Right. And you can perform the health checks. That is trusted, not health checks, sorry. So whether it is a cost optimized system, you are optimizing the cost, performance, security, you can perform checks using trusted advisor. Okay, once you have deployed, suppose you are designing a system in your assignments, you have to design a system. So once your system is ready, you have created EC2, S3, a load balancer, everything. So you can also try with trusted advisor. Come here, give your resources, and check whether it's resilient architecture. That means fault tolerance checks are there, and security, is it fulfilling the security norms? Same performance, cost optimization. So it will suggest based on the suggestions, you can improve your system's performance or cost optimization, all these things. Okay, then let us also check workspace. If they are done, we will discuss. Otherwise, we will discuss in tomorrow's class. Yeah, now they are active but not registered. Status is active. Okay. So let us create workspace quickly. Get started now. Workspace, launch workspace. See directory name. This is my directory name automatically came in here. Subnets we can leave as is. Configuration. So select the following configuration at directory level. Enable self-service permissions. Yes, we will enable self-service permissions. Next step. Next step is identify the users. So now which users can connect to workspace? You are adding users, employees who can connect here. So username, let's say Srija. Email. So I am adding the user. You can add like multiple users here. Select users from directory. I'll show all users. Okay, add selected. So we have not created. So create users. Yeah, one user has been added. So next step. Now we are creating a bundle. Bundle is nothing but the place where the necessary software package, everything required. Say for example, we are getting Amazon Linux 2, which is free tier eligible. Windows 10 standard, this is also free tier eligible. So what we are getting in the bundle, operating system, storage, applications like browsers are already installed and other packages which we want, we are choosing here. What are all required for our workspace. So that software bundle we are choosing here. So let us go with free tier eligible standard Windows 10. And this is also free tier eligible. Okay, next step. Key manage tags. Anyway, it's optional, I think. So let's skip. Launch workspace. So my workspace is done. It's launched, but status is pending. So now to connect to this workspace, once it's done, I can connect, start working in my workspace, but I need this software, AWS workspace software. I think I already have this. Workspaces. So you need to install this workspaces. So we have to give the registration code here. Go here. Yeah, now it is registered. And this is my directory ID. So this is my registration code. Copy, come here. You have to download this Amazon Workspace, AWS Workspace. This one. So it's available for Windows, iPad, all these things for Android. You go here and download, which is suitable for your operating system. And now it asks you the code. So give the code there, register. So now I have to give username and password. Username, let me go and check. Username is, I think Srija is the username. Workspaces. This is the username. Status is pending. Password. So password when you have given, while creating your workspace, we have given password, that password. So why authentication failed? Because user workspace is not yet done. Status is pending. So once it's done, if it is complete, this is the username and the password is the directory password which we have set. So using that username and password, I can log in from here, workspace, and start working. So workspace provides a desktop environment for organizations. That is AWS Workspace. Okay, and still we have a few topics, 2 or 3 topics, which we will talk about Amazon Kinesis, Lambda. So we will talk about them in upcoming sessions. Okay, then see you tomorrow. Bye bye.